Black Sabbath. No matter where you go in the world or who you ask, there is only one correct answer to the question, who is the greatest heavy metal band of all time?
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath.
Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath.
Iron
Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath. But who are Black Sabbath? Where did they come from? And why? When was it? Which one of them? And how? What? You're watching Metal Wire, and this is Things You Didn't Want to Know About Black Sabbath. Did you know that before Black Sabbath were called Black Sabbath didn't used to be called Black Sabbath at all? Black Sabbath used to be called Earth, named of course after the planet that they lived on. And before that, they were called Europe, named after the geopolitical continent that they were a part of. Prior to that, they were also called the British Isles, England, Birmingham, and number 12 Lodge Road, B66LU. Black Sabbath nearly didn't happen, as Tony Iommi, lead guitarist of Sabbath, briefly went to join progressive death metal legend Jethro Tull, however was forced to leave as he was marginally too interesting for them. You might already know that Tony Iommi suffered an accident in a sheet metal factory that caused him to lose 2 of his fingertips, hindering his ability to play guitar. But what you might not know is Geezer Butler had a similar accident in 1965, where he lost his entire arm to a very angry tapir. Luckily, however, Geezer Butler was born with 3 arms, so he was able to continue playing bass as normal. Black Sabbath's second album, Paranoid, was originally going to be called War Pigs, but they decided to change the title to Paranoid because they were worried if they didn't, the CIA would hunt them down and waterboard them until they changed the title. In the year 2013, nearly 20 years after the last Black Sabbath album, Black Sabbath finally released 13, which confusingly was actually their 19th album and only the 10th album that anybody actually cared about. In 1977, Ozzy Osbourne quit Black Sabbath in order to pursue his solo career. Wanting to stick with the horror theme that had made Black Sabbath so successful, his solo project was originally titled Blizzard of Oz, a reference to the 1939 cult horror classic The Wizard of Oz, about a young abused girl who was snatched from her farm in Kansas by a supernatural hurricane, only to enter a world full of homosexuals, repetitive and generic musical numbers.
I only had a brain. I'd unravel every riddle.
And drag queens with horrifying skin conditions. Ozzy Osbourne's solo career was so successful that in 2002 he was actually able to buy a wife and children to act in his gritty reality TV drama The Osbournes, which in no way has damaged Ozzy Osbourne's credibility as a musician, no matter what Bruce Dickinson might tell you. After Ozzy Osbourne left Black Sabbath, he was replaced by none other than Ronnie James Dio, who in turn left Black Sabbath during the mixing of Live Evil, an album that was massively overshadowed by Ozzy Osbourne's solo album Speak of the Devil, featuring the hit tracks Haha, I Told You So, and If Dio's so great, why don't you just marry him, Tony? And of course, I'm not bitter. Who told you that? Was it Geezer? Well, don't listen to anything he says. Between you and me, he's not even a real butler.
I mean, I can remember playing at the Crown pub in Birmingham at Henry's Music, and I'm thinking, well, this is good for a couple of years. Drink a few beers and have a jam. We get to Europe, and that was the beginning of the most incredible adventure I could ever think of.
Since his split from the band, there has been a lot of tension between Ozzy Osbourne and Tony Iommi. In fact, in 2009, Osbourne filed a lawsuit against Iommi about rights to a band name which he hadn't been in for about a decade. This dick move in itself caused Lars Ulrich to file a lawsuit against Ozzy Osbourne because he temporarily lost his title of biggest tosspot in metal, who was then sued by Gene Simmons, who claimed to have invented and patented lawsuits. In 1985, many artists and musicians were refusing to perform in South Africa in order to protest against the apartheid regime. Black Sabbath, however, agreed to play 6 shows in Sun City with glam rockers Whitesnake, although due to racial segregation laws at the time, they did have to perform on separate stages. You've been watching Metal Wire, things you didn't want to know about Black Sabbath. What other bands do you not want to know things about? Leave your suggestions in the comments and remember to subscribe for more rock and metal trivia.